Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Shirtless Plantain Show, the Champions League edition, or aka the Arsenal edition, because these are two Arsenal fans talking about the Champions League final. This is Dean, and I'm still a little sad, but I'm mostly happy because I'm a champion of England, as the description says below. And I'm here with Coach. What's going on, Coach? How are you?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's weird. It's been raining. It's rained every day since Monday, I want to say, and it's Thursday now. So that tells you that maybe Arsenal should be like winning and being Champions League finals like every year if you want to have like 2 weeks of amazing weather in England, which is what we get anyway.
Hey, listen, man. When we happy, the whole world happy. Those of you that are not happy, we don't care. We do not care.
If you're not
But
happy,
hey,
because your team sucks. That's why.
listen, man, that's your problem. I have no room for the haters in my heart right now. Like maybe when the World Cup starts or something, we can get back to the hate. But for now, it's all joy. Like either be happy with me or get from around me. That's what it is right now, man. I'm on my Rick Ross shit right now, man. That's all I got. Anyway, Coach, PSG won, Arsenal won. PSG win the Champions League 4-3 on penalties.
Mhm.
I suppose this is a Champions League edition, even though we're the very happy champions of England who lost in a penalty shootout to the champions of Europe.
Mhm.
But I suppose let's start with the journey each team took to get to this point, so we can put some context around this game.
Mhm.
Coach, tell me about how PSG got to the final.
It was the same way they got into it last year. They were canoodling and frolicking in the league phase and had to play a playoff. Except for this year, they played against Monaco, who for the most part this season had their number tactically, and they almost went out to them. Basically,
They did.
I think Monaco got a red card in both legs, and then yeah, PSG obviously found their footing. Um, I think they played Chelsea, was it, in the round of 16? And
It's funny
well, I
that
say played them. They beat the living dog shit out of them, basically.
it's funny that it happened in the round of 16 because when you multiply one aggregate score by the other aggregate score, you
You
get
get 16.
16.
They
That shit
absolutely
was crazy, bro. You ate
they
to see
hammered
it.
them.
You ate to see it. Woo. But
You ate to see.
you ate.
Just
I mean,
right.
come on, man. We've been the victim of that joke for like 15 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Now
no,
we
it's
pass it on. We bequeathed it to Chelsea. So that said, Coach, were Chelsea 8-2 bad in that tie? You think?
PSG overperformed the XG. All of the finishes in that game, pretty much, especially in the second game, were fucking ridiculous, man. Like they were just flying into the top corner, just flying into the top corner. But that's what top quality does. Where a good chance for them is a shot on the edge of the box that's contested. That's a good chance for the PSG forwards. Like a good chance. You only have to beat one player to get your shot off. That's near enough a 1v1 with the goalkeeper for those PSG forwards. Whereas for everybody else, that's a half chance. So if you're going to give those sort of chances up to those PSG players, then your defense has failed basically. Um, so yeah, that was their route, man. It was pretty routine against Chelsea. Then they played Liverpool, and yeah, Liverpool turtling up and going to three at the back was
I,
was just poor.
I
I
didn't
said
like
I
that.
said at the
I
time,
didn't like it. Didn't work, and I just didn't like it because it's
yeah,
Liverpool, man.
yeah,
Like respectfully, I'm not even trying to do this fake rivalry thing they've been doing with us. Like, you just have certain expectations of certain
yeah.
clubs. Now that I'm a champion, I can do this to other people now.
Mm.
I can say things like I expect Liverpool to play a certain style, and they didn't, and they still lost. They still lost. Like, if you're gonna change your style, at least win the league, like
Yeah,
we did. They changed their
exactly.
style. But you know what? To be fair, Liverpool had one of the most interestingly fucked up seasons in the history of football.
Yeah,
Let's call it what it is. It doesn't mean I'm not going to make fun of them, but there were reasons. Slot was trying everything to make
yeah,
that midfield solid, and nothing worked because nobody was trying to run for that ball, motherfucker. And now
yeah.
he gone. Back to you, coach.
Yeah, the second leg was much better from Liverpool, and Liverpool really had a ton of chances for me to really get back into the game. They even had a penalty. I think that was definitely a penalty that should have been given. But it is what it is. They lost 4-0 on aggregate, man, and yeah, that was it. Then PSG played Bayern Munich, and the the mouth breathers and the idiots, saw that first leg, said, "Oh yes, this is football at any level. This is what it should look like." When it's really just Bayern Munich aren't particularly that good in midfield, but they have some insane attackers, and you know, if you play that way against PSG, you will score goals, but guess what? You're also going to concede goals as well. Conceded 5 goals and being, I believe at one point was it 5-2 down. Doesn't particularly make you like a good team. It just means you've got a good attack, in my opinion. Put it like this: I think there's probably about of the elite teams, I want to say there's 4 or 5 teams that have a better midfield than Bayern Munich's. If I'm being honest,
Probably, but I want to be a little more charitable to Bayern than you
okay.
seem to be at the moment. Not because I feel as if they necessarily played well in that game, but in the same way that Arsenal defended throughout this final, like even forgetting game state, the strength of Arsenal is their defense. Saliba, Gabriel, whoever else you add to the equation.
Yeah.
Raya, credit. With Bayern, the strength of their team is the attack.
Oh, yeah.
So I can understand as a coach kind of turning the knob in that direction.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's a gamble, and it didn't really pan out for them, no matter how much people enjoyed watching them defend like that.
Yeah. Look, I'm not here to like rain on their parade per se. Like, I just want people to be really honest. And
there was no parade; they lost.
but I just want people to be honest and just like look at things from a perspective of, it didn't really go to plan for Bayern, despite it being entertaining, and they probably could have and should have done better because at the end of the day, they scored 4 goals. They didn't need to concede 5 goals to score a couple goals. They didn't need to. Do you know what I mean? But PSG are obviously wonderful, but they obviously couldn't defend as well. And in the second leg, which confirms me my suspicions of what Enrique is. Enrique is incredibly cynical, regardless of what people want to say about this free-flowing attack that they have and this positional freedom they have. He is arguably as cynical as any peak manager of the last 20 years, maybe even more so. He went there. He went to Germany. He was like, okay, we gave everybody what they wanted. All right, we're closing the shop today. We're closing the shop, and that was it. They got the early goal. And that was it. We are closing the shop. It's done. It's done. Why entertain people when we don't need to anymore? Which has been my argument the entire season. But you put on a little beret. You know what I mean? You eat a few croissants and a few baguettes, and everybody loses their minds. So.
You hit them with that alley du fromage. It was really cute when after the first leg, him and company dapped each other up. Yeah. Like next week we do it again. It's like, we do it again. Like, no, they did not do it again. That nigga pulled up with a bus. And it was kind of sad to watch Bayern flounder in that situation because again, not to discredit them scoring 4 goals in the first leg, but at the end of the day, you only get to score that many goals when a team is either really bad or they let you through their tactical approach. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have the best attack in the world. But even so, I still think, sure, that was the right approach. But if you're going to score 4 goals, you got to win the tie. If you score 4 goals away from your own stadium, you should win that tie. I don't care about the rest of the context. You just should win that tie. But that was PSG's route to the final. Yeah. And as for Arsenal, coach, tell us how they got to the final.
We beat the living dog shit out of everybody, bro, in the group stages. That was it. Like we beat everybody up. We won 8 games. It was easy, if I'm being honest. Compared to what? Okay, so the best way I can contextualize it for you guys, I went to all but 3 of our home league phase games, and every single one of those games, I went there with 0 butterflies and 100% expectation we're going to win and win well. And those home games included Bayern Munich. They included Atletico Madrid. Who else did you play at home? I can't even remember, but there was one more that I went to. I didn't go to Cairo. I went to somewhere else. I can't remember.
Olympiacos, perhaps?
Yeah, Olympiacos. Yes, it was Olympiacos. Olympiacos, funny enough, was the one with the most jeopardy because we left it late to get the second goal. Yeah. So
the Bayern game was probably my favorite of the group stage games.
100%. It was mine as well.
A high-level game. I think it was just as good as the 5-4 that people will never stop talking about.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen in the semifinals, so,
Yeah, I mean, that game...
Arsenal didn't play that game. They play an ugly style, you see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, that game for me sort of... Because it was around the time we were playing really well and, I think we'd beaten Newcastle in that period as well. And for me, that game highlighted, I was like, okay, I wasn't 100% convinced yet that, we could potentially go all the way in both competitions. But that game for me, sandwiched with all the other games in the Premier League, was like, okay, no, this Arsenal team is actually here. We are actually here. We belong at this table. The best team in Germany, and at the time, people calling back. You have to remember, at the time, Bayern Munich was the best team in the world to a lot of people.
Yeah,
Like
they
this,
were
like,
undefeated at that point.
we gave them their first defeat of the season, and I'll never forget as well. After the game, before I recorded Coach's Corner, I met my friend who's a United fan. Big, like he is probably the only United fan I will allow to talk mess about Arsenal because number one, he's incredibly funny and he's clever with it, kind of thing. He's not like one of you, well, not you listeners, but a lot of these lame idiots on the internet that are trying to say the most outlandish and weird things for clout. You guys have made it nerdy. He still kind of makes it cool and funny, but it is what it is. I've glazed him enough. Anyway, he said to me that
I'm so glad you stopped right there. I'm so glad. I was about to get on your ass about that. I was going to get on your ass, but
he said to me, he goes, I work in the front, bro. You guys are the best team in the world. And hearing it come from him, someone who literally has, you could search his shit on the internet. The guy is a big Arsenal troll, but he's like, no, you guys are literally the best team in the world based on what I watch. You guys beat them up, and that's what it was. We literally beat up Bayern Munich. Like they had nothing for us. We turned it into a running game, and Calafiori, Rice, everyone just ran. We just literally ran all over them. That was it. Like after containing them in that first half. But anyway, that was probably the best game of the group. We got we got a really kind side of the draw. We played Bayer Leverkusen. That first leg was probably our most difficult game, I want to say, of the entire knockout round. Genuinely up to the final, I don't think it was harder than Atletico Madrid. But at home, like we just suffocated them. I think the Eza goal blew them apart.
I think that was my favorite goal of the season for Arsenal. Period.
Yeah. There was something really satisfying about it. He caught it with the entire top of his foot. It was just so satisfying.
You don't see. I mean, you do see shots like that on occasion. Like Krupi scored a couple of those this season as well for Bournemouth. But I feel as if most of the shots you see from distance tend to be these weird side-footed shots. I think the balls are a little lighter than they used to be back when I used to play the game. But that again, such a satisfying visual, and I think it rained a little that night, so the net did a little puff as well.
And then obviously Rice was really good that game as well, and he got a goal. And then into the quarters, Sporting Lisbon. Now, I would just love for as long as Arsenal are in the Champions League, every time we get there, if we have to play a Portuguese team, I would just pray that we beat them every single time. I pray that we never ever lose to a Portuguese team ever again. Like genuinely ever again. Like beating Portuguese teams for me is just so satisfying. Knowing what they're up to and what they want to achieve at the game and making sure they're not able to do it. For me, it's a big honor. It's a big pleasure. Genuinely. I don't know how you feel about that.
I despise them in general. They make things so difficult with their stupid ass mid blocks. Yeah. But personally, I'd really rather just not see them again. Like just give me the Germans. At least they're still naive. Like give me some German teams. Give me some French teams. But these Portuguese, man, we always beat them, but it's always hard.
It's harder than it needs to be because they're so fucking cynical, man.
Shit.
Yeah, we like Havertz's goal for me was one of the goals I think I celebrated a lot, like genuinely, because of at that point where he's like, I'll take a 0-0. We'll beat them in Emirates for sure. Like, I'll take a 0-0. And it's like, no, how about this 1-0? How about that? And that was great. And Martinelli, obviously, like the assist was fantastic as well.
That goal was very reminiscent of watching like a high leverage moment in an NBA game when the defense starts rotating. Yeah. Because it's like Martinelli is driving towards the Sporting central defense and the guy on Havertz runs forward because Martinelli has beat him. And I'm like, bro, you let Martinelli shoot there. You don't leave Havertz free to play one-on-one your goalkeeper. Yeah. But I'm very grateful, because it made the second leg very academic.
Yeah, I mean, and one more thing on the Havertz goal as well. I feel like it was a bit of redemption for the League Cup final because he didn't wait, he didn't hesitate. It was one touch, bang into the back of the net, no problem, and it was really satisfying. And that's essentially the goal that took us through to the semi final. But I went to the second leg of that where we drew 0-0, and I want to bring this up again just because, right? Sporting had no intention of trying to score that game. Clearly, they just didn't. They weren't even. I think they hit the post once after one of their 2 attacks that they had, but they had no intention. They were just trying to frustrate us, if you like. And obviously, because I'm there at the stadium, I didn't obviously privy to the commentary, but I watched Declan Rice's interview afterwards. And I'm going to be polite about this, but the clown that interviewed Declan Rice asked him how frustrating was that, and he looked at her confused. He was like, "Frustrating how we're just through to a Champions League semi-final. I'm ecstatic. I'm happy about it." And it just reminded me of just how out of touch these people are, and how of the reality they're living in the reality of the internet, or not the actual reality of real life. So they're looking at a perspective of, oh, it was a tough game to watch because Arsenal didn't score and there was no real drama in it. But the wider context is Arsenal just made it to their second Champions League final in a row under Arteta. So I'm not being funny. That supersedes any feeling of the game completely, especially when one team had no ambition to score. But the fact that she asked him that just was reconfirmation of what idea people are trying to push about Arsenal and Arsenal this season in general. This feeling of discontent when Arsenal are achieving quite literally great things. That question should never, ever have been asked, ever. And the fact it was reconfirmation of what the powers that be are trying to frame Arsenal as and frame their season. Am I wrong, Dean? Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know.
Listen, man, I'm in full concord with you on this. I mean, but honestly, can't nobody steal my joy. I've lived too long to let anyone steal my joy. So, like, as much as people, and I hate to turn this into an aesthetic argument, but we're gonna have to talk aesthetics when it comes to Arsenal this season. I enjoyed every moment. Like the tense nature of some of the games. That in itself is a form of enjoyment. Like this shit is not supposed to be easy. Sometimes it's not even fun. But overall, it was amazing. But let's keep going. In the semifinals, we went against Atletico Madrid. That first leg was quite dramatic, wasn't it?
It was because we saw, to my mind, the first instance this season, for Arsenal at least, of a Champions League penalty. Like Gyökeres obviously won a penalty, which I think was fair. I think that was a penalty. But then the Ben White one was very much a Champions League penalty. And then the one Eza should have had also was what we would call a Champions League penalty, if we're going by the standards of what was set in the final, in my opinion. But yeah, Arsenal obviously then took it to the Emirates, where for the first time this season we had like the coach being welcomed with flares and smoke bombs and shit like that. And Atleti definitely felt it for sure, because the crowd that night was insane. Like you could hear it. I wasn't at the stadium that game, but I was watching it at a pub very nearby, and you can even feel it in the air around Holloway Road and shit like that. It was ridiculous. But Saka, stepped up again for us and sent us to the final. It was, Atleti didn't really have much for us. Declan Rice put in some really good tackles. He was really good in general, but we were just a better team. And the fact they took off their best 2 strikers on the hour, I think how that game went for them.
Yeah, man, they got ran out the fucking gym. They took them old niggas off. There's no reason for it to be here anymore. You can't do nothing against these guys.
No.
Have a break. Hold some bench. It was nice. Yeah. And thus, Arsenal made it to the Champions League semifinal. To the final. Excuse me, folks. Yeah. But yeah. Well, obviously, folks, there's going to be a slight Arsenal bent to this because we're Arsenal fans. However, what did you make of the lineup? I know that wasn't the lineup that you would have selected for this final. And let me read it out real quick so we know what we're talking about, folks. Real quick, we started with Raya in goal as always. Christian Mosquera at right back. The controversy there, if you want to call it that, was Timber potentially being fit, maybe starting, maybe not starting. Mosquera got the start. Saliba, Gabriel, Hincapié instead of Calafiori.
Yeah.
Game for my life, I'm picking Calafiori every time.
Yeah.
That's me. And I can't think of a bigger game for my life than the Champions League final. Yeah. Lewis Kelly, Rice, Odegaard, Saka, Trossard, Havertz. On the PSG side, just complete this, Safanov in goal, and the same 10 outfielders that started the final last year for them. Hakimi, Marquinhos, Pacho, Nuno Mendes, João Neves, Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, Desiree Doué, Ousmane Dembele, and Kvicha Kvaratskhelia. But coach, back to Arsenal.
Yeah.
I already hinted at the fact that I didn't quite, I didn't necessarily agree with some of the lineup choices. Not that they were bad, given the quality of our squad, but I think we're a little surprised by what we saw, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, where was I? I was on my way to the stadium, I think, when I saw it, and I just said to myself, "Oh my gosh!" And this is not what I actually thought, but it was my first. It was the first thing I said. I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's gone scared." And the reason I say he's gone scared is because of the Hincapié choice. But then I quickly realized that maybe Calafiori had a problem, which would not have surprised me. But yeah, Trossard starting over Eza. I think on my preview, I said I would have started Eza. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I would have started Eza. But then at the same time, Trossard's defensive work rate would definitely have been welcome considering how the game went. But those are the only real two issues for me, if I can call them. Outside of that, MLS and Rice for me, I think is fine. I'd play that midfield again. I'd play that. Like, honestly, I had no issue. I'd play that midfield again for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was happy with it for sure.
Yeah, ultimately, just because it wasn't exactly what I would have done or what I expected doesn't mean that I was upset with it. I want to be very clear about that. Like, Mikel is a manager that we've known for quite a while at this point. It's still his first job, but he is now a Premier League champion. And guess what? Long before he got his accolade, I trusted him. I've trusted him for many years, so I was happy with whatever their approach was going to be because, again, this is a very good squad. So we get into the game, and I think there's only one place to start because Arsenal scored very early. In the 6th minute, Marquinhos tries to clear the ball. It ricochets off Leandro Trossard, bounces into Kai Havertz's path. He drives on goal, keeps driving. Defense does not catch up with him. It's basically a one-on-one from a very narrow angle. I think he took maybe one touch too many for me, coach. But he gets to what felt like, he's maybe screwed up this chance, and he just fucking roofs it. 1-0 to the Arsenal. The best moment of the day, undoubtedly. What did you think? How did you feel? You know the drill.
Yeah, we got a bear shower, which I was not pleased about. It's just like that pissed me off. So I'll work backwards. So we got a bear shower when it went in, basically. But me and my mate that we was watching it with, like, there was this sheer feeling of disbelief because there's a feeling that you have, right, of how you imagine a game like that will go. It's like, oh my gosh, I'd love an early goal. Like I really would. I'd love an early goal. And we got it. And I feel like it was a perfect kind of early goal. It was a goal that got you off your seat. He's running through one-on-one and he puts it like, it's just, sometimes the way the ball goes in matters just as much as the ball just going in general. Like, it was a violent finish. It kind of shut them up. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, like we've literally been stunned here. It's like, it was a stunning goal. And I felt like I was dreaming. I literally felt like I was dreaming. It was too perfect. It was too perfect. You knew like PSG were going to be susceptible to the count now. You've got a goal within the first 6 minutes. Game on. You're like, yeah, game on. This is exactly where you want to be. Yeah, it was amazing, man. Seriously, like I can't picture many more moments in my life that I've experienced feeling that, and being with 40,000 other people as well. Yeah, I think genuinely that was one of the high points of my Arsenal supporting career. Like that moment there, I can't describe it to you, man. It was perfect, man.
Yeah, I'm glad you went that long on that because I do think it's possible to, that's one of those goals that's going to be sort of like a lost goal, if that makes any sense, because the ultimate result of this game for Arsenal fans was a loss, and when you lose a game, the good things that happen in the game can get washed away by the impact of the result. But if you're an Arsenal fan, you sort of understand that you need to trust the process, and part of the process is what happens during the game. And Kai Havertz scoring such a lovely goal is something that shouldn't be lost to history. Like, it's a memory that I'll definitely hold on to because it was just very aesthetically pleasing, especially since I thought for a second that he had screwed it up. And he didn't, not only did he not screw it up, he was like, shut the fuck up, Dean. Like, I hopped up that couch so fast. Like, I had this like knot in my upper back.
Yeah.
that shit came right the fuck back. Cause in that moment when he scored, I thought to myself, maybe we've scored too early. The distress kicked in because we'd won the Premier League in the days before the final. I was very relaxed going into this game.
Yeah.
I talked about the lineup a little bit with you, but I wasn't really pressed about what we were going to do. I was a little surprised when the lineup came out, but I thought to myself, okay, we're going to bolt it to start the game, but as the game goes on, we'll get more attacking, is the way I sort of interpreted that, because I was like, we're going to see. Like, it's weird because Calafiori is mostly a defender by trade, but I mostly think of him as an offensive player for Arsenal.
Same.
Like, we play our best football when he's on the field, so that's what I was thinking of. But scoring so early sort of meant, in my opinion, Coach, that we were almost too tempted to essentially fall back on our strength, what got us to the final. He did not concede a single goal. In all those games you described throughout the we didn't concede an open play goal the entire time. We conceded to a Robert Andrich header from a corner away at Leverkusen. But that was it. Then a penalty later on against Atletico.
Yeah.
But that was it. No open play goals. And given sort of the context leading up to the game, it felt like in a lot of circles, at least initially, I think it wasn't until Arsenal won the league that they started getting some credit for how good they were this season. Because it kind of felt like the initial narrative was that PSG won this last year. They're the best team in the world. Arsenal can't score goals. They're going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
But to have Kai Havertz sort of shut all that up immediately was great. But then you have 84 minutes to hold on. So do you think game state sort of required Arsenal to play the way they played as the game went on? Or do you think the game was always going to look like that regardless of who scored first?
No, I don't. I actually don't. I think we got the goal, and Arteta realized that, hang on a second, this is a final. Like, again, we don't have to entertain anyone. We've got if the game ends now, we've won the Champions League. Basically, it's down to PSG to break us down. Now, due to PSG's quality, I know for a fact we didn't want to have to defend our box as long as we did. Basically, I suspected that he didn't want to be as deep. I think he wanted to mid block them. If it was a goal up, he didn't want to have to deep block it. Do you know what I mean? Even then, I don't feel like we wasn't even really scrambling in our box. Really, it was just that we had to be that deep because of how well they moved the ball. But they wasn't consistently getting into our box or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? But I think if he could redo that final again, he'd probably want to push us about 10 yards higher. I think more than anything. So yeah, still be very, very. So still sit off a bit and be passive, I suppose, in the first phase, but the moment the ball gets into around Vitinha and Neves, then start snapping at their ankles kind of thing. But I think PSG's quality just kind of forced us into it, but we're comfortable doing that as well.
Right.
We're comfortable doing that as well. So yeah, I think the game state sort of dictated it, but I don't think he wanted to be that deep, and that's due to PSG's quality.
Yeah, I'm working off pure memory here because I haven't, as much as I enjoyed Arsenal's season and I feel very proud of what the team achieved, I still don't have the balls to rewatch the game and to watch the final loss. I'll get to it eventually, but I haven't quite done that yet. And we're recording a few days after the final. But in that first half, I only recall Gabriel making one hooked clearance when the ball got in the box.
It was off a ricochet as well.
Yeah, a ball that sort of landed in the vicinity of Kvaratskhelia, and before he could even locate the ball, Gabriel had hooked it away. Hincapié would have hooked it away if Gabriel didn't hook it away. Besides that, there were maybe 3 shots from distance, all of which went straight into the stands. Yeah. PSG offered nothing. If anything, the best play in that half came from Arsenal towards the end of the half when I think a combination of Odegaard, Havertz, and Saka worked a chance for Havertz. He took maybe too big a touch. If he had it back, he probably keeps that closer to his body and shoots sooner or whatever. But Marquinhos made a great tackle.
I actually have a theory on that.
Okay, let's lay it on us, Coach.
I think he should have driven towards the line and cut it back to Trossard. The play was actually there. It was actually there. I watched it back a couple of times. That play was definitely on. That first touch, if he takes it towards the goal, but towards the touchline, Marquinhos has to come to him, and there's an open lane for him to just roll it back to Trossard, who's making the run anyway. So, and I think he has the run on Pacho, I believe, as well. When at that point, and you see Trossard's reaction. Trossard's like, you should have passed it, kind of thing. So yeah, but yeah, you're right. That was to me the best sort of move of the first half after obviously the Havertz score. I mean, there was another tackle by Gabriel and Doué, but again, that Gabriel was on his left foot. it was Gabriel's favourite as well, kind of thing. But yeah, like having all that possession, which Arsenal have been accustomed to, and not doing much with it, doesn't count for shit to me. Doesn't impress me. And the reason why it doesn't impress me is because unfortunately I've been conditioned to be not impressed by it because people say that about Arsenal all the time. You can have all the ball, you can do this, you can do that, and if you do nothing with it, who cares, kind of thing. So unfortunately, you make your bed and you lie in it now. You know, PSG have all the technical players, they have all of this, they have all of that, and they did fuck all with it. They
Listen,
literally did fuck all with it.
you can have 99% possession if it doesn't result in shots on goal. Like, I'm not saying you have to score, but if you're not working the other team's goalkeeper, I don't give a fuck. That is not real. That's possession without penetration. Nobody cares, bro. Like, you're not busting no nuts. Okay. Like, nobody's getting pregnant. You fucked up, bro. Like, so that is condom football. Like, not doing shit. It's well protected, so, but for me, coach, the game sort of started turning in the moments after that chance that Marquinhos got the tackle in on Havertz. I'm not sure if it was directly from that particular chance, but Arsenal had a corner with basically seconds left in that half after 6 minutes of injury time, or added time, if you will. And Saka sauntered over to take the corner like he typically does. I don't think it was any slower than his typical approach to the game, or Arsenal's typical approach. But for whatever reason, I think the PSG players nagging him the entire half. Even though, in my opinion, folks, if you commit a foul and you pick up the ball and toss it away, that too is time wasting.
Oh yeah.
Because what if the team that's been fouled, wants to take a quick free kick? I can't do that because you've thrown the ball away. That's time wasting. PSG did that a lot throughout the half. So if you want to point to Arsenal taking their time over goal kicks or throw-ins, PSG were just as guilty, in my opinion. Just because they were the ones chasing the game doesn't mean that they weren't doing unsportsmanly things. Nagging a ref is unsportsmanly. Eventually it worked because before Saka could take the corner, he blew up for halftime, which was very weird. Like, typically, I'm not saying I've never seen it before. I've seen it once or twice in my life watching the sport, and it's been a long and healthy life. We thank goodness. We thank God. But generally, in those situations, you at least get to strike the corner. Sometimes it might blow up before a header gets in there or before anyone makes contact, but you at least get to kick the ball. Yeah. It's very rare that they're just like, after everyone has like moved into the box and set up for the corner, you're like, this is taking too long, halftime. And from that moment, coach, I don't know if I'm being dramatic here. I feel as if the tenor of the refereeing changed. I don't know if you agree with me.
Yeah, I mean, so first things first, I think while I get it's part of Arsenal's sort of corner tactic to take your time, to unsettle the players, to get into the head and stuff like that, it's the last play of the game. You literally do not need to take your time. It's whatever happens, we score from it or they clear it, they're not going to get a counter if they like. So why take your time there, John? It's quite literally a last play of the game. So I'm not victim blaming here, but I just feel as if the referee definitely got it wrong there. But at the same time, you've kind of given him the chance to do that when it's like, we won the corner. And I was like, hang on a second, like, why haven't we, like, it's literally last play of the game. Why haven't we tried to even take a quick corner, try to catch them off guard, because it's literally the last play of the game, last play of the half anyway. Like, you don't have to take your time. You literally don't.
I see the logic and what happened, but I'm pretty sure, I think I rewatched the clip surrounding that particular play because I wanted to see how egregious it was. Like, if in my mind, the egregiousness of the delay annoyed the referee enough to justify what I saw in the second half. And I don't think it was the case, really. Like, there were maybe 13 seconds between Saka securing the ball and placing it down before he blew the whistle. So I don't know. But yeah, what's done is done. At halftime, I think I can predict your take on how that first half went. It was essentially a perfect half for Arsenal, really. They probably would have wanted to attack a little bit more.
Yeah.
But ultimately, PSG had no shots on goal, barely got the ball in the box, and Arsenal had the lead. Yeah. What were you thinking as far as maybe substitutions and the like?
Look, nobody was carded, if I remember correctly. Yeah, nobody was carded. Everybody looked fit. Nobody looked like they were carried anything. PSG, like you said, didn't create anything. We had the lead. And I'm thinking, do you know what? PSG look to have been throwing their best punches. Like, genuinely, they look to have been throwing their best punches. But because there's no space for them to actually execute anything, like, look, you watch PSG enough and you realize that the inspiration often comes from their fullbacks combining with their attackers, kind of thing. And none of that shit was happening, really. or some individual brilliance, mainly usually from Kvaratskhelia. Again, all of the telltale signs of a PSG team that's warming up, that's gearing up, none of that was happening. Like literally, it looked as if that they were almost even playing uphill. That's what it felt like at times. It felt like that PSG were literally playing uphill. So I wasn't particularly worried. I know the stats say otherwise, but quite literally that PSG didn't do anything. They literally didn't do anything. So I was pleased. I would have loved to have maybe had a chance at that corner to see if we can get a second. If we got a second goal before half time, I cannot describe to you the levels of impossible of PSG coming back into that game. And Arteta would have made 3 subs, and all of them would have been, all our attackers were for 3 defenders. It would have been over. It literally would have been over.
The haram levels would have been
it would have been over.
Immense. But yeah, I thought, like, looking back at it, I remember thinking that PSG probably, which is ironic because, you know, they were the ones with the ball. I felt like they weren't taking enough risk in that first half. They had to. It reminded me a lot of the game, the Carling Cup final that Arsenal lost to Man City, where we had too many men behind the ball and we didn't put enough in between the lines, or maybe we just didn't have the personnel to put in between the lines. But PSG have the personnel. So it, to me, just felt like they weren't willing to take the risk to break Arsenal's block by committing more men forward. But even so, they started doing that when the second half began. But before we get into how effective that was or not, I feel as if the main turning point of the game, you know, sort of in combination with the denied corner at the end of the first half, was Mosquera getting booked for delaying overthrowing in the 46th minute of the game. Coach, I got to be honest with you, man. I've seen some things in football. I can't recall an occasion like that. Was that unusual for you in the moment? Because I gotta admit, like, I didn't see the moment live. I just realized that I missed literally a minute of the game and he'd been booked already.
No, I was with you. The level of confusion on his face translated to everybody else's. It translated from Budapest all the way to the people in London as well, because we all looked at each other around like, what the fuck is this, basically? But look, I'm gonna say some shit here that people that listen to this that are not Arsenal fans, or maybe they are Arsenal fans, but like to believe that everything is decided on the pitch and there's no sort of external influences. What you do on the pitch is 100% happens on the pitch, and it's unfortunately you're naive. I'm here to tell you. I'm sorry. Look at who owns PSG. Look at who the figurehead of that is, and look at where he has all his fingers in, basically. And this isn't some like rabbit hole you have to go down. You don't have to look hard to see where this guy is. I mean, anytime PSG wins something, he's literally the one that's holding the trophy before the players and shit. Do you know what I mean? Like he is not hard to find. He has all these fingers in all the pies and all the major institutions where he needs to be football wise. So yeah, I am gonna say it. I definitely do feel like there was an element of influence there. I'm sorry, like what level of influence, I don't know. You can't sue me for this because I'm not inferring anything. I'm just putting this information there for you guys to make your own deductions. But yeah, if you have this level, if you're involved in all of these things that can affect the fortunes of your teams in a good way and affect the fortunes of other teams in a bad way, kind of thing, people will look at decisions like that and refereeing performances like that with a microscope, and they should. They absolutely should. Nobody should rules should be in place where you shouldn't be able to do that. You just shouldn't be able to do that. Could you imagine Josh Kroenke just rocking up to like Stanley Park and just being part of the officiating team there? Like, could you imagine?
Well, I can, and I would like that very much. Like, listen. Let me go on a mini rant here. Yeah. This is the true loss that we suffered as a footballing society when Juventus went in the shit again. Yeah. Because I believe it was it the Agnelli dude? Or what's the name of the guy that, you know, how many Juventus motherfuckers have been caught for corruption? Anyway, they vacated that space on the European Clubs Association board, and that's how the PSG guy was able to take that spot. And now he has so much influence that it's hard not to infer things when you see the referee in the first half of that game. And you see the referee in the second. And it wasn't anything too explicit. Like I could say with each one of the big decisions in that game, like the decisions that involve cards, the decisions that involve penalty awards and not being awarded, they're debatable. Okay? Like I wish they would have gone our way, but they didn't. That's fine. I don't think anything was egregiously awful. For me, it was it was the sum total of the way call after call, 50-50 after 50-50 went in one direction and allowed one team to build momentum until that momentum eventually paid off.
Yeah.
Like when you book every player on one team side of the pitch, starting with a really weird throwing booking.
Mm-hmm.
The Saka booking for me was not a booking.
No.
He won the ball. Like just because Due grabbed his leg doesn't mean that Saka put his studs in. He didn't do anything to him
Yeah.
there. Rice got booked for dissent later on. That was deserved because he went a little too hard with that. But that was
Yeah.
because a penalty wasn't being looked at.
Yeah.
But really, it was more the calls. Like every time Arsenal tried to exit from their own half and break on PSG,
Mm-hmm.
all the calls on the duels went to PSG. And for me, a lot of those were really soft.
They weren't
And
just
that
off, they were just
and that's
wrong.
where the influence really told. Not necessarily that he, and you book players, they're not as sure anymore, they're a little more panicked, shit like that. Like he really, for me, systematically sort of turned the tide in PSG's favor. It was less about what PSG did on the ball, even though they did commit one additional man forward in the second half. But for me, it was really, and I'm gonna sound like a bitch, it was really the ref for me, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, there's people can agree if they like. Who cares, man? We're champions in England, man. You can suck my dick, man. That I don't care, man. But the simple fact is, and I've used this example before because it's still fresh in my memory, and someone that benefited from it again was playing in this game. Hakimi played for Morocco in the AFCON semi-final, and the ref, you had Ghanaian referees in Ghana talking about how shit this ref was, talking about how uh, a totting up approach of giving decisions for one team kind of thing can affect the momentum of the game. Like you had Ghanaian referees literally saying this after the game, saying of how bad the refereeing decisions were and how bad the performance was overall, and that's what affected the momentum for Morocco and affected the momentum for Nigeria to essentially not be able to get their game going. Like anybody that watched Nigeria in that tournament saw how free flowing and how open Nigeria were, and this game was not anything like that. And not taking anything away from Morocco, they're a good side, but Nigeria could absolutely play their football against Morocco. Absolutely, we had better forwards, better midfielders. There's no reason why we couldn't. Do you know what I mean? So when the referee is stopping you being physical and and winning these duels kind of thing, yeah, you're gonna be a bit unsure of yourself. Yeah, you're gonna stop gaining territory kind of thing. All those little advantages are gonna go, and it's gonna mess with you mentally as well. So I say all that to say the exact same thing to my mind happened in the final. I counted 6 or 7 occasions where Arsenal got out. We got out from PSG trying to suffocate us. The ball got up to Havertz. Havertz wins it, and the referee blows for them. And it's like, well, hang on, so we worked that hard to get the ball up to Havertz. He wins the ball so we can gain territory, and you say no, he hasn't won the ball. And it happens over and over and over again. So what happens? You're going to sit deeper and deeper and deeper because it's like, where are we going with this? Where are we literally going with this?
The
So
ref
yeah,
is basically helping them sustain pressure.
you're essentially giving it
It's like,
rather
they
than
don't need you,
working.
bro. They have Vitinha.
Exactly. Rather than them doing it themselves and sustaining pressure like that, recycling the ball, moving us around, stuff like that, the referee's like, no, we're just going to give you back the ball. We're going to give you back the ball from a dead ball kind of thing. They're going to have to sit in anyway and just keep playing until you get the result that you want. Because that's exactly what it looked like. Now, Arsenal could have done better. Of course, could have done better. But when we tried to, we're stopped by the ref. So this second half for me, so it's not going to be a bitching session about the ref kind of thing. I'm just trying to explain to you why it looked the way it did. It generally looked that way. Like every time Arsenal got the ball, and sometimes it wasn't even getting to have it. Sometimes it was sometimes a 50-50 in midfield, and it's like, hang on a second, how can these are men? Why are you stopping them from tackling each other and winning the ball? Like, why are you stopping that?
Like, and the fascinating thing is that this ref, if I recall correctly,
Mm,
I think Daniel Siebert from Germany, he
mm,
had refed Arsenal in 2 other games in this tournament,
yeah,
and I don't remember him being this finicky.
no,
Like even in the first, I mean, the way he refereed the first half of the game was fine by me.
mm,
It was after that, once the Mosquera booking happened, it's like something changed in the game. Like
mm,
it's almost like we, in a sense, teams also have to. You don't just play your opponent; you play the ref as well. And
yeah,
maybe someone said something or did something, or it could be the bias that we mentioned earlier. Based on
mm,
who's sitting on what committee, on what board, and all that kind of thing. but it definitely looked like a different game, and that just wasn't the effect of PSG being good. That
Yeah.
said, the move that led up to their equalizer was a good move. It was one of those combinations that Arsenal had done a really good job of preventing the entire game, but
Yeah.
the pressure eventually told, and there was a nice 1-2 situation with Kvaratskhelia and I believe was it Hakimi or
No, it
Mendes?
was Dembele.
Dembele. Okay, so two of their best players got close to each other on the pitch, which they also tried in the first half. Didn't quite work then. But the player 1-2, ball goes in behind Mosquera. He dives in. He shouldn't dive in. That's a stone wall penalty for me,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Dembele walks up and converts it.
Yeah.
1-1. At this point, coach, uh, your perspective, you can't pretend to be neutral here because you're an Arsenal fan, but
Yeah.
are you thinking game on? Or are you thinking crap? We can't
No,
hold on. Like what are you thinking at this stage?
I think Arsenal actually did really well to even stop PSG again from even trying to gain any more momentum, and Arsenal actually got a bit higher up the pitch after that kind of
Right.
thing. We even ended up conceding, to my mind, some, I want to say, some good chances to PSG because we were actually a bit more braver kind of thing. But I feel like our hand was forced because it's like we're not going to get any help from the ref trying to do it with our game plan kind of thing by sitting in and trying to spring on them. So we have to push high up the pitch. Now, people will say, oh, yeah, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do? No. Why are you moving away from what you planned to do because the ref has essentially made it harder for you to do something within the laws? Do you know what I'm saying? Like that why should we have to push up higher up the pitch? We shouldn't have to do that because the ref is refereeing in PSG's favor. It shouldn't be like that. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, for me, um, what was I say? Sorry, the actual penalty itself, though. I want to say sorry. Um, Hincapié was covering.
Yeah.
Hincapié was covering, and here's the funny thing: like people talk about positional freedom, and players being able to be fluid in attack. Arsenal have that in defense as well, because look at where Hincapié was. Hincapié was essentially in the right centre back spot. But because of the nature of the beast that we're playing, kind of thing, these players know their assignments and they know where to be, kind of thing. So it doesn't matter if Nkapé's been moved from left back. It doesn't matter. Somebody else will fill in there. Like the Arsenal players are so switched on. They have this synergy there where it's like it doesn't matter, kind of thing. So yeah, Hincapié was covering, but again, I don't blame Mosquera personally. It was a dumb tackle, but he's young he did incredibly. He shut him down. He shut down Kvaratskhelia. He shut him down, and it was one moment where he got done. And unfortunately, that's what can happen. That Kvaratskhelia looks like the best winger in the world at the minute. It can happen. But Mosquera is 21 years old, playing his first season in the Champions League, and at this point, he's a Premier League champion, by the way, when he's playing in that final. I think he'll be all right. You know what I mean? I think he'll get over that, to be honest. I'm sure he'll win the Champions League with Arsenal. So yeah.
Yeah, well said, coach. That said, after when the game became a little more stretched,
Yeah.
we had our first set of substitutions. I believe Timber came on from Oscar immediately after the penalty or the goal rather. Odegaard went off for I want to say Jokeres,
Yeah.
and Havertz dropped into midfield. I
Yeah.
think, and I think that was a direct response to some of the ball progression issues that Arsenal was suffering. Even though I
Mm.
don't necessarily think that's the way to go about trying to resolve those issues. Um, that said, do you think those changes, those initial substitutions that Arsenal made, had any? Were they the move you would have made? Should Eze have come on for Odegaard instead? If Odegaard had to come off, are you bringing Eze on?
See, here's the thing. Odegaard did nothing in that final, but I don't hold him to account here, to be honest. Like, I don't. I just feel like that sometimes there's games for players, and sometimes the way the games pan out, I'm pretty sure had Arsenal not scored early, Odegaard would have seen more of the ball anyway. Like he's that good. Like Odegaard belongs in the pitch with those guys. I mean, it's the same Odegaard that was half fit last season that went to the Parc des Princes and played a really good game anyway. So it just happens. He just had an off day on the weekend. So I maybe would have kept him on. I think both players, to be honest, I think both players actually have formed a decent relationship, and I think they could have done something with PSG. I definitely saw a situation where Odegaard would have been able to create a situation for Ezra to get a shot off, kind of thing. But at the same time, Trossard's sort of ice cold sort of nature in and around the box, you can't sort of discount that as well. So I understand why. he decided to keep Ezra for a little bit later on. But yeah, it wouldn't have been the move that I would have made, to be honest. I think I would have found a way to keep Odegaard on the pitch. I think, but maybe he was just tired physically. I think that's what, because he did a lot of running as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the good things about Odegaard is that even when he's not necessarily affecting the game on the ball, like you typically want to as an Arsenal fan,
Mm.
he doesn't shirk his off the ball responsibilities. He may not win the duel, but he'll usually be there,
Yeah,
and he leads the press, which is not enough of a reason for a creative player to be on the pitch. But in an off the ball game, I have no problem with Odegaard playing 90 minutes if he has to, But it's been a rough season for him injury wise and fitness wise. So really, I think that final was probably always planned as a bit of a job share between him and Eze, But for me, it was more of a trio: him, Eze, and Trossard. And like you said, Trossard has that finishing edge, but you still need to get the ball in the box before we can finish it. So I probably would have gone with Trossard off, just because I think there is some good synergy between Odegaard and Eze, and that could have been the moment to really take advantage of that, but we didn't get that. In any event, Gyökeres came on. Then eventually Trossard went off for Martinelli, and Madueke came on for Saka. Barcola came in for Kvaratskhelia, and he had a couple of moments towards the end. Actually, Kvaratskhelia hit the post once, I believe.
Lewis Skelly like deflected it, which
Deflected it onto the post.
Just on MLS, I had some real issues with MLS being able to keep up with some of these players like earlier in the season, because he looked really slow, and he was keeping up with left back. But even then, like, pace is pace, in my opinion. He was keeping up with Doué. He was keeping up with Kvaratskhelia. Like, that is a huge bonus to me. Like, if those players can't run away from you, basically, then you're going to be fine in midfield. You are going to be absolutely fine in midfield. It is.
I agree, because they were both tired. They'd been on the pitch the same amount of time.
Yep.
And I mean, he had one duel with Doué where they both helped each other up at the end, where they both ran back, and I think he just won the tackle. He won the foul, basically.
He got in front of him. He literally got in front of him. Like, Doué is fucking rapid.
He's rapid, but I think Miles, I don't even know if that was more of a speed thing. It didn't even make sense to my eyes, but it felt like a physicality thing where he just couldn't get the separation, because Miles, he's just a unit, so he just couldn't get past him. And eventually Miles wins the foul. Then he also, made it back to block the Kvaratskhelia shot. But those moments, I'll give PSG credit for creating those moments, but those moments were a result of Arsenal's game plan changing and them being forced to go forward. And they came from our attacks. They were all counter attacks. It was Arsenal attacking, getting to a point where they're going to take a shot, then the ball ricocheting back in the other direction, and PSG having an attack. So it's not as if they actually ever really broke Arsenal down. However, the scariest moment of all was maybe in the last minute of regular time when Barcola ran away from Saliba, but David Raya, taking Lehman's advice to not get sent off, made a fantastic intervention, because it really wasn't a save because Barcola didn't get the shot off. And that was pretty much it for regular time in the game. So we go to extra time. And are you thinking Arsenal has the capability to still win the game in extra time, or are you already praying for penalties at this point?
No, I'm thinking the game's still there to be won in extra time. And I just want to make a point here that relative to the strength of the teams that started the game and finished the game, PSG actually got weaker and Arsenal got stronger.
But we also ended up with that Gyökeres, Trossard, Martinelli.
I know, but the way I'm seeing it now, also with the way, because that front three has been, hasn't been fruitful for us, but we've won some games with that front three as well. I think even in
quite a few games.
Yeah, in recent weeks, I can't remember what game it was, but I feel like the game we ended that game. Did we end that game? We ended West Ham, I want to say, with Madueke, Gyökeres, maybe Martinelli, I want to say. Maybe I can't remember. Anyway, but the point is that it was Trossard that we ended that game with. Okay, cool. Fair enough. But the point is that front three, while it's, not great, in the Champions League, that's kind of profile-wise, it's kind of what you want, to be honest, especially when it's
just run over people. Just run over them.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I've been very vocal of being not the biggest fan for it, but I can't be mad at it. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like PSG outside of Barcola brought any sort of attacking players off the bench that were as good as those ones.
Yeah,
or
they
better,
brought
should I
on
say?
Goncalo Ramos,
Yeah, I'm all,
and
all
Zaire Emery came on for Fabian Ruiz in
yeah,
extra time.
yeah,
Then I think Vitinha, Beraldo, that was more of a penalty thing. Zabarni, Marquinhos as well.
yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas you see with Arsenal, we brought on Zubimendi, we brought on Ezra. Do you know what I mean? Brought on Gyökeres. Like these are like big serious men. Do you know what I mean? Like big
yeah.
full, like big international players. Like so, you know.
Actually,
But yeah,
actually, looking back, coach, I gotta say, like, if the game had gone on another 30 minutes,
mm,
based on who was left on the pitch before penalties,
mm,
I'd actually back Arsenal to win that the
yeah.
rest of the game. If
I mean, PSG still dominated possession. They
they
still
did,
and we couldn't really get out. But again, there was even an instance where Madueke is breaking through
and
and
Martinelli
he
pulls
gets
it on
pulled. He
fast.
gets pulled back for committing a foul that wasn't a foul. It's just like how can we even build momentum? How can we even start scaring PSG, even as allowing
Like,
play to progress?
that just reminded me, coach. We didn't talk about the penalty shout, but
Oh, of course,
I feel as if we sort of covered it in the referee rants that we
yeah.
both gave because it's all part of the same thing. I think.
I mean, it's a penalty.
I think if that happens to a PSG player in our box,
Yeah,
it's a penalty.
it's a penalty regardless, and this is what's really frustrating. Like it's literally a penalty. He's left knee hits the back of sorry. What he's one of his knees hits the back of Madueke's left thigh, and Madueke is also in front of him as well, and he pulls him back as well. They've both got a hold of each other, but he pulls him back as well. So it's two fouls on him really. And again, players know, players know. Mendes didn't even try to protest. He was looking at the ref thinking, "Oh my gosh, please let that wire transfer go through. Please let it go through. Please let it go through." That's all he was thinking.
Yeah,
Like it's a penalty every day of the week. I would
I
not
think
if
it was a penalty. I've had people try to gaslight me talking
so
about,
whatever,
well,
man.
Madueke grabbed his arm. It's like, bruh, Madueke had control of the ball. He hit it into space. He knew
Mm,
where the ball. He had possession of the ball. Okay, so
exactly.
any sort of contact between them is initiated by the defender put his arm across him to try to block him, and he tries to, if you try to put your arm across when I'm running, I'm gonna try to move your arm out the way so I can keep running.
And
You know,
do you know what's mad, yeah? The way that both it was, I think it was Neves as well. Neves and Mendes didn't even try to
they
say
didn't
no, no, no.
protest. They,
Like
they were
they were
terrified.
scared.
They were terrified.
They were terrified, yeah. And the reason why they were terrified is because they know Dembele's getting that penalty. They know Kvaratskhelia getting that penalty. You know what I'm saying? Like they know themselves. If it was one of their players, they know they're getting it. So it's like they're terrified because they've seen that shit. So to me, that's always a big, big telltale sign. So yeah, it's 100% a penalty, and
I think. But there are some of you who are listening to this who may choose to believe otherwise.
yeah,
I still think you're an asshole, whoever the fuck you are.
yeah, I mean,
Respectfully, you're an asshole for that.
yeah, honestly, you can actually just go fuck yourself, man. Like I'm sick of the dishonesty in football discourse. Like nobody wants to be honest. Nobody wants to be objective. It's all just rage bait nonsense.
Hey
Like,
man,
and we're not here for it, man.
agendas
Like,
must agenda. Agendas must agenda. But
nah, man, fuck all of that, man.
let's
Like,
quit the bitch fest. Let's quit the bitch
yeah,
fest. So we get through extra time. I don't. I mean, what happened in extra time? I don't really even recall anymore.
nothing much. Like, generally, nothing much really. PSG, I think they had one chance with Barcola. Again, similar sort of chance that happened where Raya came up, but he hit his left foot. You know what I mean? When he took it too wide. But yeah, Arsenal didn't really do much. Yeah,
And
yeah.
on to penalties. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, okay, now I didn't really. Well, I guess we never really know what the penalty lineup is until the guy steps up to
Mm.
go take it.
So
But
before we go into the penalties quickly, want to make this as quick as possible. I just want to highlight how both teams arrived into that final in terms of their league form or league their standing and how they did it. PSG had to play second place Lens, who was their nearest title challengers, and I think they were already 6 points ahead of them. And PSG quite literally played Seni Mayulu at right back in that game. As I think Zabriani played as well. Basically, the only first 11 players that they had there were the front four of Doué and the three wingers up front or whatever with Barcola, Kvaratskhelia and Dembele. Everybody else was pretty much like it was potluck basically. You could throw a name there and whoever was there was there. There was no first teamers there, basically. And to me, that's pretty damning. That's pretty damning to the French league, and it's pretty damning in general to I don't want to say integrity of the sport, but I'm leaning towards it. And you look at Arsenal. Arsenal's title clincher essentially ended up being against Burnley, and Arsenal played Rice, Odegaard, and Eze in midfield. A serious midfield for a serious game against an already relegated team, like literally already relegated team. We pulled out all of the big guns. Nobody was resting that game at all against an already relegated team, and that was our penultimate game of the season, right? Now I get it. We essentially got 2 weeks rest. That's fine. I get it. I love it because none of those players played. Hardly any of those players, shall I say, played against Crystal Palace. I get all of that. But if your title clincher against second place can allow you to play the equivalent, so I'll make it easy. I'll use Arsenal players to play the equivalent of playing Marley Salmon at right back, Mosquera at centre back. That's your title clinch. Like that's who you're putting out your title clinch. I'm not being funny. That is, to me, just a disgrace. Like it is a disgrace. All jokes aside, I'm not bitching. I'm not moaning. I'm just saying what it is. It's actually disgusting if I'm being honest. That's your title clincher, and that's what you're putting out. Okay.
I do think a lot of the history of the game, because of the way the world itself has developed, a lot of the history of the game is written by English journalists.
Yeah.
And to their credit, despite venerating PSG for what they've accomplished, back-to-back Champions Leagues, in some style, is not anything to turn your nose up at, but people have acknowledged various factors that allow PSG to do this.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is that the teams that PSG competes against in this tournament do not have the luxury of doing what they do. Maybe Bayern to an extent, but even Bayern doesn't really have that much depth, I would say. They do have the quality in their first 11, but they don't have a ton of depth to rotate to the extent, and there's not such a gap. Well, there is a big gap between them and the next best team in their country. But outside of Bayern, pretty much every other elite European club cannot really replicate the conditions of having, their chairman be on the board of the company that gives them their television deal. Being able to control the schedule to determine that, we're not going to play any league games in any week, where we have to face a team in Europe, because the whole league wants us to win, even though Burnley is trying to take Arsenal's fucking head off, So, you can sort of copy the quality of the players, if you will, if there are enough players to go around on the market, but the other conditions are not replicable in other leagues. They just aren't.
They're not.
That's an advantage. It just is.
It is, and I'm not saying it to take away from what happens on the pitch for PSG, because they are a fantastic side. I'm just saying those conditions outside the pitch allow them to perform the way, allow them to have those players. I'll put in terms that maybe make it a lot more sort of obscene to people that haven't caught on yet. If I can go out and get Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi, and Ramos, and Donnarumma, I forgot they got somebody, Hakimi as well, in one week, in one window, basically, and that project essentially doesn't work. And the very next season, I decide, okay, that's not going to work. So I'll go and get quite literally the very best players that are next up, that are all going to cost an arm and a leg, basically. Name one, not even Real Madrid, name one team in history that can ever operate that way. I literally have Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe, and it doesn't work out, and I go and buy the very, very best next things. Like, who in the world can operate that way?
City.
Okay, and what are City? What are City?
They're an upstanding club that did not bottle their league at all. That's what they are.
So for me, when giving PSG credit, guys, I just really want you guys to think about it as well. Think about, do you think that it's something that's admirable? Because for me, when I admire something, I always admire something because I think, do you know what? Maybe my club can do it eventually. Maybe my club can do it that way. There is nothing replicable about what a PSG do. There is nothing replicable about it at all. Zero.
However, it does give Mikel Arteta an excuse to keep bullying Josh Kroenke for money. So
yeah,
that's cool with me.
Yeah.
So on to this penalty shootout, Coach. Yeah. I don't know that there's much analyzing to do here. I'm sure both teams prepared to a certain extent. Some of the substitutions were probably with penalties in mind. I've heard a lot of discourse about Gabriel being the one to take Arsenal's final penalty. You hate left-footed penalty takers to begin with, so I know you wasn't fucking with that shit. I got to be honest, when I saw him walking up, I'm not going to say my heart dropped, but I was just like, I kind of wish somebody else was walking up right now. Same thing with Eze. I've seen his penalty technique when he was at Crystal Palace, And I did not like it back then either because he has a lot of stutter in his shit. And he just kicked it wide, So our goalkeeper, Arsenal scored the only open play goal in the game, coach. Arsenal's goalkeeper made the only save in the penalty shootout.
Yeah.
And PSG won the match. Won the penalty shootout, because football is funny that way. And some people think this is justice and a good thing for the sport, I suppose. But
yeah,
I don't agree, but I'm also biased. What can I say?
Well, you don't even have to be biased. Like, I'll just go back to one point again. If the conditions for certain success cannot be replicated, like they literally can never be replicated, then I'm not being funny. Then we're talking about something that's not even sport now. Because by definition, guys, one of the core parameters of sport is competitiveness. And there's zero, and I mean this sincerely, there's zero competitiveness about what PSG do. There's zero competitiveness about what they do. There just isn't. Like, there's no jeopardy, there's no risk, there's no sort of tension in anything that they do. Zero. There's no thought of, oh shit. Like, put it like this: the way people talk about Arsenal, they will never talk about PSG because guess what? They know there's finite resources, there's a finite sort of window for Arsenal to sort of execute with these players. Whereas with PSG, it's just like, well, if it doesn't work out, we'll just go and get the next best players again, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one's ever said about PSG, this is their best ever chance to win the league or win the Champions League. We've been hearing that for 4 years about Arsenal. It's the best ever chance Arsenal going to have to win the league, and this season is the best ever chance Arsenal going to have to win the Champions League. Because why? There's jeopardy there. There's an element of risk in what Arsenal do.
It's sport.
It's sports. It's literally sports. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what else. I don't know how else. Are you guys picking up what I'm putting down? Please.
Like, to go on a brief tangent to distract us a bit, because it's the end of the season and Unai Emery somehow managed to finish the season without shitting himself on national TV. So it's time for people to compare him to Arteta again. And I just want to make the point that the club that coach has spent the last couple minutes fragrantly describing how the conditions in which they succeed are not really replicable by their competition on the continent. Unai Emery was once coach of that club, and he didn't win the league. He did not win the league, okay? This was years into his career as a top professional. So when we're talking about elite coaches, please do not talk about that motherfucker.
No.
Like, just don't. He's the best of the rest. He's not among the best, okay? UEFA Cup is a second-tier competition. You get props for winning anything, but I'm not giving you props on the level that I'm going to give Mourinho props, or Sir Alex props, or Guardiola props, or Ancelotti. No matter what the conditions those guys won in, they're at least winning the top competitions. And they win league titles.
Yeah.
This motherfucker fucked up a league title with the resources of PSG in Ligue 1.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to hear nothing about that nigga. Like, don't ever mention him again. But the game had to end, coach, and Arsenal lost the game. They came as close as you can come to winning without actually winning. How devastated were you afterwards? Because I know you're not even recovered right now, man. You can't even make eye contact no more. You hurt as well.
Yeah, look, man, the only way I can describe the emotion I felt when Gabriel's penalty went over was the exact inverse of how I felt when Havertz scored. Like, that high, I don't know, like, the only way I feel like that high will be replicated in a football context is if we do it again, basically. Like, I don't think I could replicate that genuinely. Like, think of all the finals I've watched Arsenal playing, all the league titles I've seen us win, kind of thing. I don't think I've ever been that gone with my emotions. I felt I genuinely felt disbelief. There was disbelief running through my veins. And the inverse of that was utter devastation because it's quick. It's like a guillotine. It's like literally 1 minute you're here, 1 minute you're not. That's it. Like, that's it. It's literally a guillotine.
Yeah,
that is it.
It's always, coach. It's also tricky when it ends on your kick as well.
Yeah,
so final. Like, when you miss and there's a chance that your goalkeeper might make a save.
Yeah,
there's hope.
Yeah.
But it was a miss on our kick, and I was just like, damn.
Like,
I guess I gotta go figure out how I'm gonna pay my bills.
I mean, literally, I didn't fall to my knees, but because we're all standing up watching it, kind of thing, and we're in between seats, I literally fell into a squat position and I was just looking down, literally just looking down because for like half a second, I was like, this isn't real, this is a dream, basically. That's how I felt because I was telling you for weeks we're winning the Champions League. So it doesn't happen. It's like, oh my gosh, I gassed myself up this much and it doesn't happen. So surely it's not real. If I've convinced myself and my reality is Arsenal would have won the Champions League this season, it doesn't happen. That element of disbelief will come in for a second, and then automatically you're sobered up straight away because you look up and all you can hear is Darren Fletcher's fucking voice in total glee. PSG are champions of you. Like, he sounds like the happiest man on earth. If he's got any children, I don't think he was as happy to see that than he was at the birth of one of his children. Like, that was my only real sour note from Saturday in general, the fact that we lost that. But having to hear his voice echo around the Emirates, right, it was just doing my head in. He is such a fucking shit commentator. He is terrible. Absolutely terrible.
I had the luxury of watching it in my own space. So the minute I don't think the camera had actually even cut away from the scene of him missing before I turned the TV off. I was like, all right. Yeah, because the way I deal with my emotions, kids, listen to an expert. I've spent a lot of money on therapy over the years, so I know the right way to do things. The way I deal with my emotions is by eating food. So the second that shit went over the bar, the TV was off, and I was in my Grubhub menus like, all right, well, what are we crying into for the next couple hours, But still a great effort. In a sense, I wonder, there's a bit of and I don't know if you agree with this, Coach, but there's a bit of a latent feeling of, I don't know if it was maybe the game state, but I just felt like we didn't show I like the version of Arsenal I saw. I like the version that defends like maniacs and that are almost impossible to break down because they basically didn't really get broken down in that game. But I also feel like there is more in that team and they didn't really get to show enough of it in that game.
No.
And I think, I think you do agree. And I have some lingering regrets about that. Like, it would have been nice to see a little bit more from Saka and Odegaard. And, I don't know if I want to blame the game state as much. I think the second half is when that quality, because again, you mentioned by the end of the game, Arsenal arguably had more quality on the pitch than PSG did. And I felt like at some point, because of that potential quality, via depth, Arsenal would have had their period of the game where they sort of pinned PSG back for like, even if it was just like a 5-minute period. And in that moment, we could have gotten the set piece. Like when Gyökeres took that shot from outside the box, I feel like we would have had a few more moments like that if we just, I just wanted like maybe 2 more of those. And I think Arsenal maybe wins that game.
Yeah. I mean, I was disappointed with the fact that in my head, I'm thinking, especially Miles, but Rice as well, I'm thinking Miles getting on the ball and essentially attracting players to him. I don't think any of the PSG midfielders physically, he could be dominated by them physically at least anyway. Do you know what I mean? So I'm thinking, let him initiate contact, let him blow past them, because for as intelligent and as they are and as how technical gifted they are, I definitely think Miles sits there with them. He definitely, in my mind, he definitely does. This may offend people. I don't really know, but you watch Miles Lewis Skelly play. I'm not being funny. His qualities put him right near the top of the list in terms of his actual attributes. So yeah, he could definitely, hang with them. And I'm just annoyed that we didn't get the chance to lean into that more. But again, that speaks to PSG's quality as well. I think I don't feel like we even really allowed, we really even gave ourselves a chance in that regard. So yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately, I can't fault the performance. Again, Arsenal got as close as you can get to winning the Champions League without actually winning it.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure I can blame the manager. I mean, we can look back, hindsight is 2020, and suggest different things. I mean, I don't know what Calafiori's fitness is like, but it does bother me that we didn't get to see him. I feel like he's one of our again, one of the monsters come to Earth, and Arsenal has to represent Earth. Calafiori is in that lineup because he just makes us attack better. Hincapié is a warrior, and he had to play, extra time with his ass hanging off his like the last couple of weeks have been very, very strange for his posterior region. Pause. But it would have just been nice to see us attempt to attack at full capacity, and Calafiori is part of that. So that's my one big regret in the game. It would also been nice to see Marino, despite his relative lack of fitness compared to his teammates, just because I feel like he's such a moments guy, like Eze as well. I just wanted to see more of certain people. But outside of that, I have no complaints. And Declan Rice's face at the end of the game matches my stance on this. I feel like this group, they've progressed in this tournament every year, quarterfinals in their first attempt, semifinals in their next one, final in this one. I feel like the next time they get this opportunity, if they're lucky enough, I know they'll work hard enough, but if they're lucky enough to see this opportunity again, I trust them to come through, I feel like.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this Arsenal team getting over the line in the Premier League is so huge. And I'm not going to talk about style of play because people obsess over that obsess over that too much. And frankly, I don't feel like they even know what they want. To be honest, I don't even know.
Just not that.
Yeah, they don't want that. No, but I'm not even talking about they know what they want instead. I don't even think they even understand what they want, should I say, kind of thing. Because being able to play good football, there's a multitude of things that allow for it to happen. I don't even know if they're comfortable with those sorts of things anyway. But that's besides the point. This Arsenal team, for me, the one underlying quality, and I think it comes from the manager in general, is that there is no real losses with Arsenal. Like, yeah, you lose a football match, yeah, you miss out on a trophy, but Arsenal are quite literally just a learning machine. Arteta is a learning machine. When we lost to City in the new year in 2022, basically, and Saka scored the opener, we played City off the park that day. And also that was to me, forget the 22-23 season where all the vibes were good and, you know, this young team and the pink kit and for that. That game for me was Arsenal emerging. Arsenal emerged that game. Yeah, I know we lost to Spurs afterwards, and do you know what I mean? We lost to Newcastle as well, but that was the emergence of this Arsenal. That game was the emergence. That literal game there. So you can pretty much trace back all of Arsenal's fortunes and misfortunes back to that game. Even the way the game happened, you know, we should have had a penalty. Gabriel, I think, getting sent off as well. I think he get issues as well. Like all those sorts of things. And Arsenal still gave a really good account of themselves. Now, I say all that to say this. Arsenal next season in the Champions League will absolutely make it to the latter stages again. I do expect a semi-final again. I do, regardless of who we face. Like, regardless, I expect a semi-final. I don't expect Arsenal to win less than 6 games in the league phase, basically. And I'm not saying this out of arrogance. The evidence is literally there. The evidence is literally there. So, and it gets to a point as well in the Champions League, you become one of those teams where people expect you to be there and you rarely disappoint. Like, you talk about Champions League teams. Arsenal are Champions League quality team. You expect to see us in the last 4, pretty much season in, season out now. You expect us to see us there. Like, if Arsenal don't make it to the semi-finals next year, it will be seen as a catastrophe because it literally is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, those are the expectations people like Unai Emery can't deal with.
Yeah, there we go. So for me, I have no doubt we'll make it there. Now, when you talk about luck, we absolutely need that. But that luck also depends on what you do in the transfer market as well. Like, could you imagine one of those balls breaks to someone like a Vinicius, you know, or a Krupi or whatever for Arsenal in that final? What they could do in those moments, kind of thing. No disrespect to the players that we did have, but Arsenal clearly need to upgrade their attack. So for me, as long as Arsenal do the business in the summer, Arsenal getting back to the Champions League final doesn't seem as far away as some people might think. We legit might. PSG got to 2 back-to-back finals. As far as I'm concerned, the next best team after PSG is Arsenal. So why can't Arsenal as well?
Very well said. I do think, out of respect for the sporting aspect of the game,
yeah,
I do want to ask, what do you think PSG's odds of going back to back are? You know, because they will be there, that's for sure.
Yeah,
what do they need to come back?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think funnily enough, I actually think they need to freshen up their attack. I think they need to freshen up their attack next season. It sounds crazy to say, I know. I also think they need to start looking at ways to find someone to essentially help Marquinhos. Their midfield, I think, for the most part, is fine, especially with Warren. Like, their first 4 sort of midfielders, Zaire Emery, Vitinha, Neves, Ruiz, is as good as you're going to get in Europe, I think. But
by the way, I want to say Vitinha won man of the match in the final, but I really felt like
it should have been
that
Gabriel.
award would have fit one of his teammates better, and that'd be either one of the other midfielders stood out more to me than Vitinha did. Like, he, for me, is the ultimate paragon of possession without penetration. You know, like in that game, at least, you know, he had one good shot, but outside of that, he didn't really impress in that game. But back to you, Coach.
But yeah, if they want to evolve as well, maybe they have a more they look for a more sort of designated creator in midfield, even though they don't particularly need one, and it's going to probably shift the dynamic of their attack a bit more. But it also gives them a different way of playing. But Luis Enrique knows better than me, so. But yeah, I think they probably need about 2 or 3 more. I'd say even if they let Barcola go, for example, they'll need 3 more, but 2 more for sure. 1 in midfield, 1 in attack, and maybe another young defender. But I think for the most part, I think they're fine. They're young as well. They're fine. So yeah, they'll be there. PSG are a lock for the semi-finals again. I think they're, but I think we're also a lock for the semi-finals as well. So
congratulations to both of the finalists, especially to the champions. And
but not getting congratulations at me. So good from you to
the champions. Everybody is a champion somewhere. At least on this podcast. So in any event, thanks for hanging out with us. This was a bit of a long one, but it was the final game of the season. You're not doing anything else. How many pods you guys listen? You ain't got a lot of pods. So we're glad to have been on this journey with you throughout the season. Again, congrats to the champions, and I guess we'll see you around, Coach. What's to the people.
Peace. We're winning the Champions League next season and the league.